Hi guys. Alright, so today's lesson is like the start of geometry. Is where everything is based from. So everything we do throughout the class will always come back to these main three components: points, lines, and planes. So we're going to quickly take a look at what is a point, what is a line, what is a plane, how do we name them, how do we use them throughout the course. Alright. So we start off with a point. A point is the starting place of the universe, basically. So a point is simply a location. Okay, I'm going to change the thickness of my line here so it's a little easier to read. So a point is simply a location, and that didn't change. Awesome. So I'm going to erase that. I'm going to try again and changing the setting. There we go. So a point is a location. All right, so just as an example, a lot of times when we see a point used, we'll see it on a map to represent a different city or a different location on a map. Or, what we may be familiar with in math classes is like an XY coordinate on the coordinate plane. The XY coordinate gives us a specific location on that coordinate plane, which is essentially kind of a map as well. So a point is drawn just as a dot. Then we use a capital letter when we name a point. So a capital A or a capital B or whatever the letter may be. So in words or symbols, we would call it or write it as point A, or just simply A with a point in front of it, or either one of those we use to name or define a point. So it's kind of important to know that a point has no dimensions. It just represents a location. So we can't really measure a point because it doesn't have any length or width. Next we come to a line. So a line is made up of points. So a line is made up of points and it has no thickness or width. Okay? It has no thickness or width, and it's drawn with an arrow on each end. So what that would look like then if we draw a line is something like this. Okay? It's also important to note that a line has no starting place, has no ending place. It goes on infinitely in either direction. Okay? So line is named by the letters that are representing 2 points that are on the line. So with this example I have up here, we could name this point B, this point C. Okay? So we call this line BC, or using symbols, we would call it BC with a line over the top of it. Okay? So now points that are on the same line, so you notice how B and C are both on that one line. So points that are on the same line are said to be collinear. Co means that they inhabit or they lie on the same line. Okay? Another thing to note, since line BC doesn't have a starting or an ending location, it doesn't matter the order that we name the line. So here I called this line BC. We could also call this line CB, or oops, I did it again. Or we could call it line CB. Doesn't matter, since it doesn't matter which direction we're going for a line, then it doesn't matter which order we name those 2 points in. A line can also be named using a lowercase script letter. So a lot of times you will see a line with like a lowercase script letter. Script just means like cursive. Okay. So it could be named with a lowercase script letter. So we would call this line, another name for this particular line would be this line M. Okay? So there's different ways that we can name a line based on the information that we're given. All right, so next up finally is a plane. Erase that, give me some room to write. So a plane is a flat surface made up of points. So when we talk about planes, we can kind of visualize it as being like the flat surface of a wall or a whiteboard, or the flat surface of the smart board that I'm using. A plane could be the flat surface of the floor or the ceiling. Okay, but it's just like the flat part that we actually write on, we would consider that a plane. Now, a plane is two-dimensional, which means it has no depth to it, but it could have a length and a width. Okay. So we draw a plane as just a flat four-sided figure. Typically, it looks what's called a parallelogram. I'll give you an example of that down at the bottom of these notes. So we name a plane by a capital script letter, or by the letters naming 3 non-collinear. That didn't write too well. 3 non-collinear points. That means 3 points that are not all in a straight line. And again, I'll draw an example of that for you to see. So points that lie on the same plane are said to be coplanar. So any points that you see are lying all on the same flat surface are called coplanar points. Right, so to name a plane, we simply can use like I said, a script letter, a capital script letter, or by picking any 3 non-collinear points, or 3 points that are not on the same line. All right, so you can name it with just a single script letter, which is not associated with a point, or by using 3 points that are all within that plane. So the way we typically draw a plane is going to look like this. So we typically do it using a parallelogram. And then to name this plane, we can have just a single script letter. You notice there's no point associated with that letter K. So we could name this just plane K. Or choose 3 points that are on that plane that are not all in a straight line. Like if I look at B, C, and D, I can't draw one single straight line through those 3 points. Okay, so I could name that either plane K or plane BCD to indicate or name that plane. These 3-point letters BCD, again, can be in any order. It doesn't have to be in alphabetical order. That's typically how we would do it. But you could name it plane CBD, DBC. Those 3 letters, it doesn't matter when we're naming the plane. Okay?